The Stan Who Came to Dinner is the 13th episode of the second season of The Golden Girls. This is directed by Terry Hughes, and to be honest, I didn't really care for this one at all, and that's largely because I don't like Stan. I find the episodes with Stan to be really repetitive, and I don't like Stan as a character, so this one didn't have that much to offer for me, and I also feel like the ending was very, very flat. So there will be spoilers, of course, as I go through things chronologically and discuss what happens in this episode. It starts off with somebody at the door. Sophia is reluctant to get it, but she does, and we have twins, Rob and Bob, who are there to see Blanche and Dorothy, and they're getting ready to go out on this double date, and then there's another knock at the door, and it's Stanley. It turns out he's getting surgery, he's going for a bypass, and Sophia and Dorothy are in the kitchen talking to him about it, and Sophia asks him who's going to take care of him while he recovers, and he hadn't really thought about it. So Dorothy ends up saying that he can stay there, and he thinks that he's going to die. We have, I think, some pretty raw emotions when Stan and Dorothy are alone together. However, he also confesses at the same time that he had an affair. And then he confesses to more affairs. And Dorothy is keeping her cool, completely to her credit. Though she says she forgives him, but she does thwack him with the bag that she's packing for him for the hospital visit. We're then in the hospital waiting room, and Dorothy reveals that even though they're no longer together, she's still scared about this. She still obviously cares about him and doesn't want anything bad to happen to him, which I think is probably a realistic response to the situation. And then the doctor or the surgeon comes out and says that he's fine, and soon enough he'll be able to go home, and he should be recovering within about 3 months. Which is not the length of time Dorothy thought it was going to take. And then we have a few scenes with Stan in the house, which is, they're not too bad, I don't mind them. He's annoying people and causing problems, and then just as it's time for him to go home, he kind of fakes a relapse, and then we see him dancing around, and Dorothy catches him, and she tells him quite calmly and kind of kindly that he needs to grow up and stand on his own 2 feet, and that's where we end the episode. And honestly, I found it to be tremendously boring. There are a couple of decent moments where people are being honest and vulnerable, and I think that they're quite thought-provoking, but I didn't think it was an interesting narrative. I don't like Stan as a character. I do not really care about the character at all. So for me, this just was kind of a boring episode. There are some benefits to the topic that they're addressing, and as I said, I think the emotions that certain characters had, particularly with Dorothy and Stan, of course, were very believable, but the narrative itself just wasn't that fascinating. It wasn't very funny either, so definitely not an episode that I cared for. It's very rare for me to not find an episode of The Golden Girls funny, so I can't complain too much, but The Stan Who Came to Dinner is one that I would skip. If I'm binge watching The Golden Girls again and I'm watching season 2, I doubt that I would continue to watch this one. For me, it just didn't do very much at all.